Hey everyone. Well, this is a joyful treat because my name is Helena and I am part of the duo that is Kelly and Helena who run the Connection Hub. If you're watching this on Speaker Insight Facebook page, then come on over into the Connection Hub where you can really join in with everybody. But we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a portfolio business, like a mixed business, or that really supports you to grow your business sustainably. So with that in mind, we like to do interviews with amazing people every now and then. We've been running through we have over 200 trainings that are available for you inside the Connection Hub that really help you grow your speaker, author, coach business. And every now and then this year we hit on a trend that's actually happening or something amazing that you need to be seeing. So please say hello to us. I've got the wonderful Matthew Hughes with us because I want you to be able to pick his brains and ask you questions around how to use not just TikTok, but like short reels to really kind of build your business. But before we get into all of that, for those of you who are listening, whether you're listening on the hashtag replay, do a little hashtag replay because we like to know what actually happens as far as that goes. But for those of you who are actually listening live, ask your questions about anything kind of video around this, particularly around the short short reels that we're going to be talking about. But before that, I'm going to go and do a little round of what's the buzz in your business. So what's exciting and happening kind of for you? Here comes the thing. Just for a little bit of fun, because you gotta love it. So
I love that.
Yeah, so Matt, I'm going to kick you off whilst I have a look at the comments because some of those are coming in, and please do say hi. For some of you, I won't be able to see who you are because we're doing this through StreamYard, so we're going into the Connection Hub. We're doing it from the Facebook Speaker Insight page, and we're also going into Changemaker Central. So I'm saying hello to those of you who are saying hello to us. I'm not sure who you are, so tell us who you are, or at least give us permission in some way. So Matt, what's the buzz in your business?
What's the buzz in my buzz is obviously all about YouTube because I went to LA last week and went to the biggest and best YouTube conference in the world. I think it's my favorite conference. And so I've been fully inside of YouTube and TikTok and short form videos, all that kind of stuff. So this is like the perfect time to talk about all of this stuff. Because off the back of that, I was just mentioning off air that I'm launching a UK YouTube community. We're doing in-person meetups for YouTubers. So loads of stuff. I don't think it's been done in the UK. There's a few like ad hoc events, but nothing really to get your teeth into. So definitely with this kind of community, it's going to be the perfect in-person thing if YouTube is on your agenda at the moment.
Oh, I really, sort of, and so I will obviously kind of introduce you to the joys and delights of how to connect with us and do all of that good stuff. For those of you who are watching elsewhere, if you're not inside the Connection Hub, then my little bit is definitely to sort of come and join us in there. So I'm just going to actually pop that link in here just so that all my admin duties are done before I actually share and just actually pick your brain. To be fair, I think that's actually where we want to be. So for those of you who are using, I'd love for you to, those of you who are watching again, either if you're on the replay or not, are you using short reels? Are you using them? Are you doing Facebook Lives? Are you doing stories? Are you doing reels on Insta? Are you doing YouTube shorts? What are you actually doing around all of this? And you're getting some sounds fab. It does sound really fab, even if it's a slight bit expensive, Matt.
Yeah, there's a long way to go. Well, that's the thing, right? That's why I'm bringing it to the UK, because it is expensive, and it was on the other coast, the furthest away it could have been, I think. So
yeah, so we are grateful for the likes of you that actually bring us the things that are coming in. There's nothing like a geek. We do love a geek, and by that I actually affectionately mean probably all the speakers, authors and coaches that we actually serve, because in the community of over 13,000 people, most of you are geeks about your own. Or hi Eb, very lovely. Yes, I know Eb's using TikTok for sure, right? you know, but inside the community, every single person in there is a geek around the subject matter that they actually have. So it's really appreciated that you go to conferences like that and sort of come and bring things back. But let me rewind it back, because I'm pretending like everybody knows you. Everybody
Yeah.
might not know you, even though you are the king of video, Matthew Hughes. But you know, you're no stranger to us, and obviously your help is so appreciated inside the Connection Hub. Whenever anybody has a query around all things YouTube and that sort of thing, you are one of the first people that, you know, hops in with some good information. So can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and how you got to be the king of video, please?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, my name's Matt Hughes, King of Video. I had a video production company, a global video production company, for 7 years. We traveled the world making video for tech companies largely. So very geeky. I used to be a public speaker in the tech world. So I just went up to all the conferences and said, hey, do you want a video? And most of them said no. And then the odd one would say yes. And eventually we got quite a good reputation for filming. It was really like sponsors and exhibitors at tech events, but they were large 20,000 people tech events. So I've been to Vegas 5 times, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Vienna, all around Europe and America. So very, very fortunate to do that. And then I ditched that in just before COVID, February 29th, 2020, in fact, and sort of relaunched and rebranded myself. And I asked the world, because I was, you know, when you start in a business, you Google or you go to your domain provider and try and find a domain. And I tongue-in-cheek put King of Video, and it was available. And I was like, can I call myself the King of Video? And I went and asked a few people in a couple of communities that I were in, and they were like, Matt, just shut up and get on with it. I was like, okay, cool. I took that push, and they said, you know, why are you asking it? It's just crack on. So I became the King of Video, and you know, I tell the story about my past because, you know, I'm self-taught. We first made a video, and I'd never made a video before in my life, and we figured out all of the things. So what I do now is largely I'm helping non-technical people understand the technicalities of doing stuff like this, you know. And people tell me, oh, I'm not that technical, and they're sitting on Zoom with a camera and audio or whatever, and I'm like, how can you say those things to me when you're using all of this technical equipment to sit and have this communication with me? So yeah, I mean, I help people that think they're non-technical, but in most of the times they're just not as geeky as I am with all of the techie stuff.
Yeah, you know, and I think there is something about giving ourselves permission almost to experiment, and probably the last couple of years' experience has made people a lot less afraid of technical stuff like this, because we've all had to use Zoom / Teams / whatever it is to actually be on video. So being on video is a much more natural piece.
Yeah, I think even for speakers, you know, I often talk about public speaking. You know, they say that, what's the thing? It's the most frightening thing other than death, or it's more scary than death. And I think as a public speaker at the time, I had no problem standing in front of 300 people. Well, you know, the normal nerves and stuff. But when I sat at home doing my first video, I think I showed you, Helena, my first Facebook Live, which was about 2 years into the video company. I was really worried, and I was really scared. And so seeing this happen over the last 2 years, and seeing people be forced into the limelight, so to speak, you know, and have to go through this process was really wonderful, actually, because it really made people become uncomfortable and just do it anyway. And I think for a lot of people, that's accelerated their online business journey by maybe 5, even 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because in many ways I'm kind of always ahead of my time. So in the late 90s and kind of early noughties, I was actually working for the video company, the video conferencing company. And it was before FaceTime was even an idea. So I was teaching people how to use video conferencing and how to get comfortable in front of the camera before any of this stuff was really a big thing. And to me, it was actually nothing to teach people how to feel comfortable around it. So when I then got into the entrepreneurial world and actually started using this stuff, and I was hearing exactly what you're saying, you know, people are scared of it. I was like, I don't really understand. But of course, I'd had a background of that
Yeah.
already. So anyway,
If you're in the corporate world, you know that, don't you? WebEx and all that kind of stuff. Like you've experienced it, just not at the speed and level that we had over the last 2 years, for sure.
No, not at all. But that's also kind of opened up things a lot around this. So I'm going to go back to the basics. We have got some, Stephen Perkis is asking some questions in here. So I'll tackle those in a tiny moment, Steve. Feel free, those of you who are actually here. Hi to Juliet Simpson, who says she's a novice, and that's absolutely fine. We'll kind of at least get you going. So I'm going to start with that and actually go, before we get into the TikTok kind of arena, why should every single one of our speakers, authors, and coaches actually have a YouTube channel, please? Let's go basic.
Yes. Okay. So being, I mean, there's loads of things I could say here, but bringing it specifically into the speaker realm, like, you need a speaker show reel of some description. If you're not filming your speaking sessions, you're wasting a great opportunity to create some collateral. I definitely regret not doing that along, in the first few years of me speaking. But if you think about it from a YouTube perspective, or from a human being perspective, if you're a potential conference organizer or someone putting on events, where's the place you're going to go and look for good speakers? And the answer is YouTube. You're going to Google it. Of course, Google's going to suggest YouTube videos as the answer to the question. And so you're going to end up on YouTube. So if you think about it from what's my chances as a speaker of landing that gig versus somebody else who's got a established YouTube channel where the organizer, because let's think about it from an organizer's point of view. When they hire speakers, it's their job that's on the line. If they get a speaker that's not got the right experience, who doesn't come across in a really great way, then they're the ones that are going to be held responsible for that. So if they can see on a YouTube channel that you're a great speaker, that you've got a great charisma and all the kind of stuff that you would need as a good speaker, you're going to be 10 steps ahead those people that are, just submitting the call for papers and, with no other collateral available to them. So bringing it specifically to this audience, I think that's probably the first and most important thing I think about.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, we talk about kind of building a business on your terms. And I think having, sort of, which is really about you considering where you spend your time and your energy and your resources, your money and your skills, having a YouTube channel for your business, for you and for your business. I'm always going to do there's you and there's your business, and you serve the business and the business serves you. And one of the best ways you can actually serve your business is to have a channel, because actually, as you say, people are going to go and want to look at the fullest experience, particularly in light of the last 2 years, because we're used to actually seeing people in an animated way, sort of around this. So for your business, you absolutely need it. Yeah, don't get me too started on that one.
And so the other thing to think about as well, like bringing it over to shorts quite quickly. But
right, I was just going to say, because can you tell us about shorts, what they actually are? Because some people might not actually know what that is. So let's just do a debunking of that one.
So when I say shorts, I'm talking about YouTube shorts, right? So YouTube have created a part of the platform that is built for short form content. So that's what I'm referring to when I say shorts. Actually, short form content as a whole includes TikTok, it includes Reels, it includes YouTube Shorts. So it's all of that stuff when I'm talking about it. And one of the big key takeaways from my time in LA last week was people were just saying, if you're creating this long form content, why on earth would you not create shorts at the same time? Because you're just not maximizing the content that you have available to you. And, I'll tell you, there's plenty of good speakers that I've seen 30 seconds of on TikTok or a minute of on Instagram Reels. And I've been like, actually, that's really good. In fact, one great group of people, if you want to see somebody that's standing in front of a stage, putting themselves out there, is comedians, because comedians have all of this collateral from their shows, and they're now taking these, you can usually fit a joke into 1 minute, and they're taking that and putting that on TikTok and sort of driving them over to YouTube or wherever the long form content exists. So again, thinking about your material, your collateral, Gary Vee is another great example of this. You should be able to get good 30-second, 1-minute clips out of that collateral already.
Yeah, which is really good. I'm sorry, I was trying to answer Judith's question, and I was technologically inept because I was trying to manage both of these things. But I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. It's like if you're doing one thing already, you may as well make great use of it. You know, there's nothing like repurposing, and there is an attention span. So Stephen was just actually saying, so I'll honor this here because it seems to sort of fit. He said, I heard YouTube planning revenue shares on Reels from January 2023. Mr. Beast reckons it will kill TikTok, but he's obviously biased. That's his first comment.
Yeah. So, well, let's address that. At the conference, we called Mr. Beast Jimmy because he was there, and we were told not to call him Mr. Beast.
Nice.
We call him Jimmy. So, yes. So, the product team for YouTube was there also. And you're getting all of this before my group gets it, Helena. Can you believe that? Right. So we meet on so my YouTube group meets on a Friday, so they're going to get all of this, but you guys are getting it sort of first. So I sat in a session with the product team from YouTube, and they talked about this revenue share business. So actually, what's happening is, as it currently happens, if you're on YouTube and you're monetized, then you get a revenue share based on the ads, and the ads are at the start, in the middle, and at the end of your videos, and depending on the length of the videos. And what they've done in the past, and what most of the platforms have done in the past, is they've created a pot of money, or they usually call them creator funds, and then they divvy that creator fund out as they see fit. Whatever algorithm they have that sort of figures all of that out. But it's a finite amount of money. So they'll say we're putting together $1 billion or $100 million, whatever, and we're going to divvy that out amongst the creators. But what YouTube have done, and why it's so important, is they've changed the game because they've said we're going to give you a revenue share, so you can get, I think it's something like 45%. There's a revenue share from the ads that we're getting, so it's an uncapped amount of money, and we will do that then against the videos. And how it's going to work is every 2 to 3 shorts on the feed, there will be an ad, and then that money generated with that ad will be shared between the 3 videos before it was shown. So again, they've got quite a clever way of working that out, and that came directly from YouTube. But the January 2023 thing is for the US. It will take a bit of time before it rolls out to the rest of the world. So I reckon sort of summertime next year will be our time to get this stuff.
Oh, that's really good. So then I'm going to address Stephen's second question, but I'm going to ask you first of all, because it's marrying up what Judith is saying. Is this going to be just about TikTok or short form video in general? She said, I'm just not going to join another social media channel, which we completely understand. And you might even want to try and kind of persuade that. So I just want to go back and actually make sure everybody knows what we're talking about in terms of, you've just talked about YouTube shorts, but what are we really talking about in general around these shorts?
So TikTok's a great hook because everybody's considering that at the moment. Like, okay, I heard about Reels last year, now I'm hearing about TikToks. 40 plus is the highest growth on TikTok right now, audience wise. There's more 40 plus year olds joining TikTok than any other demographic, which is important to think about from a business perspective. And when I talk about TikTok, I'm really talking about short form content. And the reason that is, did you say it was Judith that asked this question? And the reason that is that I know you said, I'm really not going to join another platform, but I think about it this way. I think about traditional marketing, and they call it omni-channel, right? When they're doing multiple things. And that's because if you're a business and you're promoting your business, and that's what social media is for, really, is promoting our businesses, ourselves, our brands, our businesses, etc., all in the same thing, then why would you only choose to promote it on TV or on the radio? Like, no other marketing business in the world will say and advise to their clients, hey, I know you've got an up-and-coming tour. We're just going to advertise that tour on billboards.
Right.
They'll say, well, what about TV? What about radio? What about movie theaters? Like, so think about it from your short form content point of view. You're creating this content. It's taking you an age to create it when you get started, for sure. Why would you miss out on the other platforms when you can just go post to TikTok, post to Instagram, post to Shorts, just like that?
I think the distinction here is also that there is something. So I'm a great big fan of the Facebook Live, and mine are actually way before time. I've been doing 2 to 3 minute videos on Facebook Lives for about the last 4 years or so. I do a shiny shove every single day, weekday, and it literally, you know, sort of has just been grounding. Now, I'm used to that. I'm not used to going in and doing any editing. I wasn't used to it, first off, you know, sort of like, but I got myself used to it. But I wasn't creating videos. And I think that's the distinction here, is that you are actually spending time creating something because you are adding text and those types of things. So I think, can we talk a little bit about that around, you know, how long does that process take? Because of course, that then makes complete sense to put it omni-channel, as you say.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm hearing you talk about really from a technical point of view is the workflow of a piece of content, right? That's how I would describe it, the workflow. So your version of that is that you create this live video, you post it in the group or on your page or whatever, and like with these videos that you do here, you've got a learning platform that you put them on as well, right? So you're already repurposing in some ways, because you take that piece of content, but you do no editing with it. You just go and put it in the other places. So, and that is one approach, and that will work. But it just misses out all of the benefits of the other stuff. But of course, it's a time and cost or time and effort charge really to you as the person. And so what I tend to do with that kind of stuff is I will teach people how to do the content repurposing, so they understand everything that's part of that whole ecosystem, and then I will tell them to outsource it. So I'll say, look, like, learn it, spend the time to learn it, and it takes, you know, my content repurposing course is about 2 hours to sit through it. But you know, if you're doing stuff at the same time, you're probably talking 2 to 4 hours really to sit and go through it. And you would understand then all the different things that you could create, because the understanding is important when you go and hire somebody else to do it. Because you don't want the wall pulling over your eyes, you know. Like, that's how I feel. I'm getting my bathroom done at the minute. I'm trying to get a plumber, and I have no idea what's going on. So I'm like, just going like this and going, what's the cost? You know, just tell me what it is. I'll average them out between people that give me a quote. But it's the same thing. You don't want to sort of not understand it at all. So understanding the process, I think, is important. And then you can outsource it to somebody else. And it can be really inexpensive. And once you do it, you can just know that, like, you show up, you do your short sharp shove or whatever it is. And then you just hand it over to somebody, and the rest of that workflow that you do understand, you just know that they're going to take it, they're going to caption it, they're going to change it from landscape to square or whatever it is, you know, you've defined is the process, and then they're going to go and post it on those platforms for you.
That makes sense.
And again, I do appreciate, and I totally appreciate, that if you're just getting started in business, that extra cost can seem like a prohibitive thing at the start. But I would definitely say to you that if it was one of the first things you should do is create that content machine, because the cost effort up front at the start is paid for when you are everywhere on social. When you become well known on socials for your thing by doing this, it just pays for itself.
And it's really interesting because, you know, sort of like certainly for Kelly and I, our main platform is still, you know, kind of Facebook, and it's where we've got the thriving group and all of that. What's interesting for us is that all of these Facebook Lives, you know, the 200 plus kind of trainings that we do, like, and interviews with people like yourself, those are actually all on YouTube. We actually made an exec decision to not take comments on those because we didn't want to manage that channel, but we do want to be found on that channel in some ways. So I think there is something here about making it work for you as well. I know you're going to argue with me, and I know you and I are having conversations about this. Feel free to blatantly.
So are you telling me you've turned the comments off on your videos?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Helena, I've just died a little bit inside. Anyway, we can't talk. We're not talking about that right now. but
That's okay. I feel publicly
we're going to
slapped.
stay
And I'm
laser
giving you
focused on TikTok. But we definitely have to talk about
okay.
about
Great.
that. Okay.
See, everybody does it now. You alluded to it, but I want to go into it a little bit more because so in terms of the average ages, because TikTok obviously isn't just. I am just going to say this with Stephen because he falls into this as well. He said it took him ages to pluck up the courage to TikTok, but he's finding it really valuable. It's a fantastic mirror and it helps you to show you just who you are, I think. Or he says perhaps that's just me. But more seriously, he's actually saying he's heard that TikTok prefers longer form and long live streamers to keep people watching. So there's that piece that I want to talk about. But can you incorporate it in with the thing that you hinted at before around like the over 40s? Because a lot of us, kind of are thinking that it might just be for young people. And so we want some examples if possible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, firstly, I just wanted to say that comment of it shows you who you are. I absolutely love that. That's such a wonderful way to describe content in general, because a lot of the time we put it out there and our concerns are largely based around the perception of other people, which of course we know we can't control. So to put it out there and help you more understand yourself more, I love that. But so let's talk about demographics then, I guess, and ages. What we're talking about, like, look, when you open TikTok for the first time as an adult, the first thing it's going to show you is teenage girls dancing, and so you're going to sit there and go, "Hold on, this is not for me." But like any algorithm, it starts with what's popular and will show you stuff to learn what you want to see. So the first thing I would do going into TikTok or even Reels, same sort of deal there, is I would go and search for stuff that I want to see. So for me, it's business people, it's content hacking, growth hacking, it's content ideas, all that kind of stuff. And over time, and not a massive amount of time, but over time, it will eventually, your feed will start to fill with that kind of content. And of course, the more people you connect with, you engage with, one of the things TikTok will do is it say, "Can I see your contacts?" And you say yes, and it will show you all the people in your contacts that are also on TikTok. Can I connect with Facebook? Yes, and I'll see all the contacts there as well. And so by connecting with those people, engaging with those people, you'll be surprised how many are already on there. Your feed will then start to filter into the kind of stuff that you'll see. You'll still see the odd like trending stuff, and that is largely music-based dance videos still. But the majority of your feed will be around those business things. And then what happens is you start to understand and learn what other businesses are doing on the platform and with short form content, and you kind of start to understand, okay, this is what my audience expects. This is what my adults 40 plus audience expects. And now I can create my content like that. And you'll get wonderful ideas from those people that have been doing it for weeks, months, or even years on the platform.
Nice. That makes complete and utter sense. And sort of it's heartening to sort of learn. And I know that you've run a couple of TikTok challenges for your YouTube for Business people. So have you got some examples of people who kind of had some successes around building their businesses that you could share? Specifically the speakers, authors, coaches, if you've got any of them.
Speakers, authors, coaches. So Michelle Haslam, who's a TikTok coach now, she has a great TikTok, and she has built that up to being a full-time business, teaching people how to do TikTok. But in terms of coaches, there's loads of people now that are taking, because they were doing it for Reels. They were kind of sold on Reels, but they had this perception about TikTok that it wasn't the platform for them. And so they're slowly bringing their Reels over. And that, just one thing I will say, and like anything with advice on these platforms, mine included, you can take it with a pinch of salt. But what I would say is there's a lot of advice about taking your content, creating it in the app, and sharing it around. I would encourage you to use your camera on your phone to create the content first, and then put it in each of the platforms, rather than building it in TikTok, using the TikTok functionality, and then having to download it and upload it again. because there is some issues with reach, and there's a watermark in TikTok and that kind of thing. So do try and create the content outside of any of these platforms first.
Yeah.
And of course, I can show you how to do that as well, before you go and upload it into the individual platforms. But yeah, once you get into the business world and you start to see it, you'll see some really great. Well, I tell you what, I'll give you an example that isn't a speaker or coach, but it is something that to me seems ridiculous.
What any one of us could do.
Yeah, which is really worked. Is one of my clients. I've got a website business, and one of my clients is a needlework expert. I mean, I can only describe her as an expert. She loves needlework more than anyone I've ever known. And her website business is called Funky Needlework, and she's a presenter on TV. She's been doing great in like the shopping channels. But she started doing TikTok, and I was like, I just can't see how this is going to take off. She was making doing materials and stuff. Within sort of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, she's on about 6,500 followers now. Wow. And millions of views. Like, she's got people doing duets, and a duet is where someone will take your video and put you side by side with them, and then they'll either react to it or they'll dance with you or whatever. And she's got all these duets on TikTok where people have taken what she's done and tips that she's shown them, and they're just sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This has changed my life." So the reason why I'm telling you that story is because, again, a lot of the times people will come up with excuses, and if you're still watching, I'd love to hear what your excuses are for not doing short form content. So do let me know what stops you in the comments.
Nice.
But people say, like, it won't work for my industry, it won't work for my topic or whatever, and it's just total rubbish. Like, you got to understand that if you're an expert in something, no matter how weird and wonderful, you being an expert means you've learned a whole bunch of stuff that's out there in the world, and there's other people that are well invested in that. And so you will find your tribe, you will find your audience on that platform. And you might have tried Reels, you might have tried YouTube Shorts. There is a different audience waiting for you on TikTok that may take off. And they said this to me at the conference. A few people said, "Look, I tried it on Shorts, it didn't work. I tried it on TikTok, it worked. I tried it on Reels, it worked, but then it didn't work on TikTok." Like, that's why you need to try it on all of the platforms.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Judith is just actually Susie's saying this is so inspiring and timely. So good on you, Susie, for just making time for this, which is great. Judith is asking around that. So I think it comes in. She said, how do you use it without pointing at words or using voiceover? Because she's finding both of those so annoying.
Okay, so it's a great question. And how do you do it? Well, ask yourself, like, how do you want to create content? Like, there are no rules. The platform doesn't dictate what people do. People will follow trends, of course, because that's what we do as tribal human beings. But that doesn't mean you have to do it. And actually, a friend of mine who's a speaker coach, she said, I think she calls it the Kansas Shuffle. I don't know if it's a well-known thing or if she just made it up, but she calls it the Kansas Shuffle. And she says, when everyone else is going right, you go left. And I just love the idea of doing something a little bit different. So where everyone else is doing these videos and you're like, no, that's not for me. You can just show up and say, hey, I've got something to tell you today in the next 30 seconds or minute or whatever. And that's enough. And if you watch Michelle Haslam, as I mentioned, if you look at her videos, they're exactly the same every single time, but she is absolutely smashing it because she does like a quick cut where the camera comes down and then she just talks face to camera. FTC is what we call it, face to camera. And that's it. And then she's off and she cuts it. But her formula is exactly the same. There's no pointing, there's no dancing, straight face to camera.
No pointing, no dancing. Judith will like the going against the grain. So Judith, just go against the grain and be you, because your stuff is amazing. So go get it out there. So I want to talk a little bit about hang on a second. I tried the trends, but what has most views is just me sitting in my room sharing helpful info from my life, right to choose in the NHS.
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. That's from Stephen. So that makes, and I think that the answer here is do it your way, right? And it's still about your message. As speakers, authors, and coaches, every single one of us is standing for something, whether it's a movement or whether it's you just shifting how people's perceptions work. You can still absolutely do that and potentially have the go viral sort of piece, right?
Yeah, and you what I'm hearing from Stephen there is like it's kind of advice, but I see it as like documenting what you're doing. As it can be kind of like as you're learning things as well, as you're coming across stuff, you're like, oh, this is why people should do this thing. So I'm going to share that as well because I've just found it interesting. And like from my perspective, look, I'm a YouTube coach, if you want to call it that, trainer, really, I'd probably say, or mentor at this point. But I've got 1,200 subscribers on YouTube. I've not got millions. I just went to a conference and everyone told me they got 500,000 or millions or whatever. But I met someone with 100,000 subscribers and I made more on YouTube last year than he'd made off platform. He'd made loads of money with AdSense, but I'd made more off platform because I'm doing it strategically. And when I teach my people YouTube, I'm saying, hey, come along for the journey. And every time I find something new, every time I attend one of these conferences, I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to make it really easily digestible for you. And you can just come along for the journey. And I've had so many people that have said, I'm so glad you've not got 1 million subscribers because it would have seemed too much of a reach to get there. Like it's nice that I can start with you and we can grow together. So whatever your topic is, I think it's great to kind of share those behind the scenes relaxed way of sharing it. And that's great what short form is great for.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think just actually kind of getting out there and doing it is also another little piece. I mean, one of the conversations we've had in this house is definitely around, using TikTok to actually kind of do a short or any short form, content to then actually drive people over to a different platform. And I think my favorite at the moment, my favorite example of this on TikTok at the moment is the Coca-Cola song, which so I live with a musician. And so we're obviously kind of in tune with a little bit of that. And it's so essentially, for those of you who don't know, I might have to dig it out now. But essentially, a musician in South Africa took a TikTok video and kind of sampled it built a song around this wonderful Coca-Cola seller on a beach in Spain, who, oh gosh, I'm about to sing on public stage. Here we go. But essentially it goes Coca-Cola Light, Coca-Cola Normal, Coca-Cola. And he's taken that, sampled it, turned it into a whole song. He does it as a short 30 seconds, says, want to watch the whole thing, which you absolutely do because the rhythm of it is just in your head, sort of like, so it's really great. What's brilliant about it is his YouTube channel is now growing. He's monetized that. And right at the end of it, he's still trying to find, he may have found him by now, I don't know, but he's still trying to find the actual guy who started this off so he could give half the royalties to him, which I just love as a story. Amazing. Right?
Well, and it's a great point because on TikTok, you can link to Instagram and YouTube. So they're already saying we encourage you to go across platforms, which most people don't. Yeah. And the other thing is that the shorts change that's happening on YouTube, what they're going to do now is in your phone app, when you go to your long form content, you'll be able to select a minute of that content, turn it into a short.
Amazing.
And then the short will link to the long form content. So they're saying you'll get paid at the shorts level, and then when people click through to your long form content, you'll then get paid if you've got ads and AdSense on that. So, there's this real encouragement. People talk about the attention span of people, and I always say it's rubbish. It's one of the bees in my bonnet when it comes to what excuses people use. They say, people's attention spans are getting so short, and I'm like, they're not. They're the same. And it's like, how have you measured that they're suddenly getting short? Oh, it's only 1 or 2 seconds now. And I'm like, no, that's not true, because people are still watching Emmerdale, they're still watching Coronation Street, they're still going and watching slime videos for 2 hours or shopping hauls for an hour, whilst there's long form content or Netflix binges. Who's watched a Netflix binge and watched like 12 hours of a series? You go on bed at 2 a.m. You're like, oh, damn, I've got to get up at 6:30, but I've got to watch one more.
That's right.
how can we say that attention spans are short? It's just not true.
Yeah.
What it is your content's crap. Like, that's the problem. Like, that's what you've got to understand. You've got to create content prepared to fail until you find the content that works. And
Oh, I really
eventually,
love that.
if you keep doing it, if you keep measuring, and if you keep not being emotional about it, but just understand this is a business, test and repeat and figure it out, adjust slightly, you will find something that goes viral, and you'll find the attention span of your audience has suddenly got longer as they're prepared to watch your long form content. So sorry, I got soapboxy about.
No, I love it. I love it. A little bit of
span,
soapboxing goes a long way, man. It goes a long way. So I'm going to start to kind of wrap us up, but sort of, because you've just talked about cross-linking the platforms, and I think that becomes a really good way to just see what's working, because the same content might not work in the same way across all of them, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. You just got to try it, and you don't know. Have had people at this conference say about videos they thought, oh my god, this is going to be so viral, it's going to be amazing, and it's just flopped. And they can't figure out why, but that is just the way it works sometimes. There could be a whole bunch of things going on. I mean, I remember putting out some content that I thought was great when I was doing live videos every day, and nobody was watching my live videos. I was like, where is everybody? And they were all at a conference. There's like 300 of my audience that would normally come and watch my videos every day. I've seen them all at the same conference, and I was like, oh, my audience has disappeared.
No wonder.
So unless you know the agenda.
Yeah, completely. Sort of, So a final couple of questions, sort of from me, linking it back through to kind of the thing that we hear in the membership a lot of the time is, but I don't have time to do all of this, sort of like, so on average, like, how long does all of this take? If you're sitting and creating all of this, how long should our speakers, authors and coaches put aside if they're time poor and not too tech savvy?
Yeah. Okay. So when we did the reason why we did the TikTok challenge, and we did it for 2 weeks, one of our members went from 0, never making a video, to 1,200 followers in those 2 weeks, by the way. We did a video a day, and that was the challenge, was, can we create a TikTok video every single day? And when you set yourself a challenge to do like 14 days of something, forgetting about the habits that you get into, but what it does is it makes you start thinking all the time about when is this piece of content going to come out of me? And it could be any time, right? But because you're focused on it, what is it? Your RAS, your reticular activating system. It's like there all the time, thinking, I've got to create this video today. I've got to create this video. I know, and it can become a bit annoying. You're like, oh my god, it can get a bit overwhelming at times. So be prepared for that as well. But when you set that challenge, you're good on your word. You will find it, and it will take you 5 minutes. Really, we're talking 30 seconds of video. So realistically, you've got to think of the idea. You've got to try it. You might film it 3 or 4 times. You're not going to be perfect, because perfection doesn't exist. So you're going to go, I'm okay with it being a bit pants at this point, and then I'm going to put it out there. And so in total, 5 minutes, maybe 15 minutes the first video, maybe 12 minutes the second one, 10 minutes the third one. But by the end of those 14 days, you go, oh, that's easy. But like, if you ask yourself 14 days before, you'll go, oh my god, this feels so much. And in fact, there was 3 of us that agreed to do this 14-day challenge, and we ended up with 50 people in the group. And there were so many questions at the start, like, how do I create a TikTok? How do I even get started? And so we had to go through and say, oh, there's the button that you press. And there were screenshots in the group of people helping each other out, but eventually, like I say, by day 14, you're going, oh my god, I've done it. It took me 5 minutes each day, and look at the results that I'm getting being consistent for 14 days.
Sort of, and I think there is something to be reminded of, which is, the more consistently we show up in a space where our people are, the easier it is for those people, the easier it is for us to become memorable to those people, and for them to go, 2 months, 3 months down the line, it's like, oh, hang on a minute, that person used to talk about that. Who was that person? Oh yeah, I'll go and lock those people up. So we just don't know the impact, do we?
No, and that's the other thing as well. Like, sometimes it's You get so wrapped up in a platform or in the current environment that you're in, that when you put yourself in a different environment like TikTok, where it does feel a bit uncomfortable, you suddenly remember how amazing you are, because
Yeah.
you get this whole new audience that's suddenly going, all the things that you've took for granted, that you've been saying over and over again for months and years, like all of a sudden they're going, oh, this is amazing. I need more of this. Can you tell me more? And you're like, oh, I've had this thing over here for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, you can come and buy it. It's been there. How did
Yeah.
you not know about it? Well, it's just because they weren't in your world. They'd not
Yeah.
experienced you yet. And so, it's great to see how quickly people can create an audience on these platforms, and how well received it is.
Yeah, that's really good. And so kind of wrapping it up, you obviously help people kind of build this into their businesses.
Yeah.
You've got your YouTube for Business membership, haven't you? Can you tell us a tiny little bit about that? Just because I know that really helps people do this and feel supported along the way.
Yeah, sure. So YouTube for Business, really, really simple. I help you get started on YouTube from, like, if you've not even got a Google account, I show you how to create a Google account, right through to uploading your videos, your banner art, all the things you need to consider when you're creating your videos, editing, filming. And we're working on, at the moment, the first 90 days of the membership, so it will literally guide you as a workbook through those first 90 days. It's something that the members have asked for. We've got a private private WhatsApp group where we communicate with each other, and we have weekly meetings on a Friday where you can come and ask questions if you get stuck. Because, like with anything that's new, that's difficult, or potentially difficult, you hit those brick walls, and it's like, where do you go for the advice? And that's what those weekly calls are for.
Yeah, that's really, really great. And it just, I can't honor you enough for just what you've been doing, it because it makes it so much easier and so simple for people to really understand, how do I make the most of this channel? How do I help me not just necessarily monetize that, but actually monetize, as you said, the whole of your platform? You don't need a massive following in order for your work to actually be in front of people, right?
Yeah, I've got 1,200 subscribers. I made 40 grand last year off platform. I met a guy who last week who's an insurance salesman. Like, think of like more boring subjects than an insurance salesman. By his own admission, by the way. But he was making $15,000 off platform with less than 2,000. I think he had 1,990 subscribers. Like,
Wow.
that's insane. You
in
look
terms
at
of the conversion.
channels. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The price, the amount of money you're making per subscriber, like those kind of numbers that I've just talked about. There's people with 1 million subscribers that have not got those kind of percentages. So, like, it really is possible for every business. But the only problem is people don't think about that first, because you get instant gratification on in Instagram and Facebook, But I met a guy last week who had a channel that he'd forgot about. He put a bunch of videos on it. He came back to it 2 years later. He'd got 35,000 subscribers just sitting there on this channel. Like, people obviously loved his content and forgot about it. And that's the thing.
Not doing anything.
Yeah. And it can just grow organic. It's like, once you put it there, it can just grow organically without you doing much else. And you could be making huge amounts of money from that. So definitely worth it for everyone, really.
Well, I love that you're in the world doing that kind of thing and helping people to really just buck up their ideas around all things video. And I so appreciate you taking the time and for giving us the slight exclusive before the group even got it, which I'm feeling quite smug about, to be fair.
Yeah, don't tell them, Helena, even though you're in the group. So you can't go on WhatsApp now and say Matt's just told us loads of secrets. Well, you can say, look, it's in Speaker Insight. Go and join.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll do a nice intrigue frame for you for Friday. That's kind of where
I mean, there's just so much. I had so many notes. I've got replays that I'm going to be watching over the next few weeks. Like, conferences and events, which I'm sure you say all the time, are just so valuable, just in terms of speaking to people that are there, let alone all the great sessions that you get to be part of as well. So
yeah, it's I literally came not quite the same, but went to an award ceremony the other day, the Best Business Women's Awards, run by Debbie Gilbert, who it's a fantastic thing, as you say, for networking. We can stay open to it in all sorts of ways, and again, it's that offline stuff that then kind of, we do the online stuff, but then we actually take it offline and see what's possible around that. And that's
so
what
motivating.
it really is, right?
Yeah,
Really
totally.
Well, I am going to see us out. Thank you so much for your time as ever. And for those of you who are watching live or on the replay, let us know. And if you've got any questions, tag Matt in them. I put a couple of links in there so that you can connect to Matt and also check out the YouTube for Business membership, because it is really spectacular to be able to think about it in a very structured way. And Matt's very good at prompting that. So thank you.